From the diviners. The river flowed both ways. The current moved from north to south, but the wind usually came from the south, rippling the bronze-green water in the opposite direction. This apparently impossible contradiction, made apparent and possible, still fascinated Morag, even after the years of river watching. The dawn mist had lifted, and the morning air was filled with swallows, darting so low over the river that their wings sometimes brushed the water. Then, spiraling and pirouetting upward again, Morag watched, trying to avoid thought, but this ploy was not successful. Peek had gone away. She must have left during the night. She had left a note on the kitchen table, which also served as Morag's desk, and had stuck the sheet of paper into the typewriter, where Morag would be certain to find it. Now, please do not get all uptight, Ma. I can look after myself. I'm going west, alone, at least for now. If Gord phones, tell him I've drowned and gone floating down the river, crowned with algae and dead minnows like Ophelia. Well, you have to give it to the girl some marks for her style of writing. Slightly derivative, perhaps, but let it pass. It was not funny. Peek was 18, only. Not dry behind the ears. Yet she was, though. If only there hadn't been that other time when Peek took off, that really bad time. That wouldn't happen again, not like before. Morag was pretty sure it wouldn't. Not sure enough, probably. I've got too much work in hand to fret over Peek. Lucky me. I've got my work to take my mind off my life. At 47, that's not such a terrible state of affairs. If I hadn't been a writer, I might have been a first-rate mess at this point. Don't knock the trade. Morag read Peek's letter again, made coffee, and sat looking out at the river, which was moving quietly, its surface wrinkled by the breeze, each crease of water outlined by the sun. Naturally, the river wasn't wrinkled or creased at all. Wrong words. Implying something unfluid-like, something unenduring, prey to age. Left to itself, the river would probably go on like this, flowing deep for another 1,000,000 years or so. That would be not allowed to happen. In bygone days, Morag had once believed that nothing could be worse than killing a person. Now she perceived river slaying as something worse. No wonder kids felt themselves to be children of the apocalypse. No boats today. Yes, one. Roy Land was out fishing for muskie. 74 years old this year, Roy Land. Terrible eyesight, but he was too stubborn to wear glasses. A marvel that he could go on working. Of course his work did depend upon eyesight, some other kind of sight. A water diviner? Morag always felt she was about to learn something of great significance from him, something which would explain everything, but things remained mysterious, his work, her own, the generations, the river. Across the river, the clumps of willow bent silver-green down the water, and behind them the great maples and oaks stirred a little, their giant dark-green tranquility disturbed only slightly by the wind. There were more dead elms this year, dry bones, the grey skeletons of trees. Soon there would be no elms left. The swallows dipped and spun over the water, a streaking of blue-black wings and bright breast feathers. How could that color be caught in words? A sort of rosy peach color, but that sounded corny and was also inaccurate. I used to think words could do anything, magic, sorcery, even miracle, but no, only occasionally. The house seemed too quiet, dank. The kitchen had that sour milk and stale bread smell that Morag remembered from her childhood, and which she loathed. There was, however, no sour milk or stale bread here. It must be all in the head, emanating from the emptiness of the place. Until recently the house was full. Not only Peek, but A.O.K. Smith and Maudie and their shifting but ever-large tribe. Morag, for the year when Smiths lived here, had gone round torn between affection and rage. How could anyone be expected to work in such a madhouse? And here she was feeding them all more or less, and no money would be coming if she didn't get back to the typewriter. Now, of course, she wished some of them were here again. True, they only lived across the river, now that they had their own place, and visited often, so perhaps that was enough. Something about Peek's going, apart from the actual departure itself, was unresolved in Morag's mind. The fact that Peek was going west? Yes. Morag was both glad and uncertain. What would Peake's father think if he knew? Well, he wouldn't know. I didn't have all that much right to judge anyway. Would Peake go to Manawaca? If she did, would she find anything there with which to have meaning for her? Morag rose, searched the house, and finally found what she was looking for. These photographs from the past never agreed to get lost. Odd, because she had tried hard enough over the years to lose them, or thought she had. She had treated them carelessly, shoved them away in seldom opened suitcases, or in dresser drawers filled with discarded underwear, scorning to put them in anything as neat as an album. They were jammed, anyhow, into an ancient tattered manila envelope that Christie had given her once when she was a kid, and which said, McVitie, Pearl, Barristers and Solicitors, Manawaca, Manitoba. Christie must have found it at the dump, the nuisance grounds, as they were known. What an incredible name when you thought of the implications. The thick brown paper stank a bit when Christie handed it to her, faintly like the sweetish ether smell of spoiled fruit. He said Morag could have it to keep her pictures in, and she had taken it, although despising it, because she did not have any other sturdy envelope for the few and valued snapshots she owned then, not realizing that if she had chucked them out then and there, her skull would prove an envelope quite sturdy enough to retain them. I've kept them, of course, because something in me doesn't want to lose them, or perhaps doesn't dare. Perhaps they're my totems, or contain a portion of my spirit. Yeah, and perhaps they're exactly what they seem to be, a jumbled mess of old snapshots, which I'll still be lugging along with me when I'm an old lady, clutching them as I enter or am shoved into the Salvation Army Old People's Home, or wherever it is that I'll find my death. Morag put the pictures into chronological order, as though they were really any chronological order, or any order at all if it came to that. She was not certain whether the people in the snapshots were legends she had once dreamed only, or were as real as anyone she now knew. I keep the snapshots, not for what they show, but for what is hidden in them.